markets are politically agnostic. We have clients on both sides of the spectrum, but typically, like you said, when there is a divided government, it is more beneficial for the markets.
You want to talk a little bit about midterm results? Another thing that's happened in this quarter.
Yeah, let me jump here. I want to show into I found some interesting information. There's this economist and statistician that I follow. Now that we've got the results of what we're seeing here in a more divided government, what I looked at here and what this statistician had pulled is how has this behaved in the past, and it was eerie how similar these results have been. And so what this individual pulled the data on is going back to World War II. We've had 80 years and 20 midterm elections, always beginning right in the first week of November. And what this individual looked for was, how did the market behave 6 months out? Was there any correlation there whatsoever? And what he was able to determine is that if you looked in November, then look 6 months out, give or take around, late June, that so far, and I'm really hoping I'm not jinxing it with bringing this up, but 20 out of 20 times the market was positive 6 months later. And it's difficult to correlate that to something else or just pure coincidence, because you look at over the last 80 years, how many other things have occurred geopolitically, economically, with recessions and wars and Cold Wars and Vietnam. And I mean, everything that's gone over the last 80 years to note that every 6 months following a midterm election, the market was positive. So what he had concluded, and I would tend to agree with, is that typically what happens in a midterm election is you get the party that's out of favor gaining some power back and creating what we all know as gridlock. And what happens during gridlock is you really don't have much happening, at least not in Washington. So no new money's being spent, no new bills, no new surprises, no new tax laws, nothing. Really just the corporations are just allowed to be left alone and go to work. And there's a lot to say for that and how the market behaves 6 months later.
We hinted that, I believe, last time on our last call as well, in the sense that, markets are politically agnostic. We have clients on both sides of the spectrum. But typically, like you said, when there is a divided government, it is more beneficial for the markets for those reasons you just hinted at, Jason. If you're trying to build your business plan for 3 years or 5 years as a company, and you're constantly worrying about new taxes or new regulations or, what that environment's going to look like for you, it makes it hard to plan. And when there's gridlock, a lot less gets done and stay out of the way of business, and business is able to to move forward usually. So I think that's kind of one of the things to look for coming out of the midterm elections is there's likely gridlock now in Washington, and hopefully less spending, which in turn leads to less inflation.
And I think the other way to look at it is, we call it gridlock from a political standpoint. We always talk about politics versus economies and markets. For the market, it's more predictability and stability. Mm-hmm. So they don't consider it gridlock. They consider it more of a known quantity. And I think that's one of the reasons why markets do well after elections, where you have this gridlock, this divided government, because that there's not going to be big changes coming through.